Hello and welcome to Opening Inclusiveness at Denver Open Media. Today we are discussing an issue that affects us all, immigration. There are millions of people living in this country today who are looking for a path to citizenship. However, there are policies in place and enforcement that have not allowed that to happen. Today we have a very multicultural and inclusive cast, crew, and volunteers who are all running our studio at Denver Open Media at 7th and Calumet. We just want to take the time to appreciate everybody who's been coming here today and appreciate all the volunteers who have taken the time to make this happen. So today we are talking about immigration and how it has affected our society and the people who are living specifically in Colorado. So today we are talking to a family who is going through one of the most harsh policies of enforcement, which is deportation. We will speak to the family and also a filmmaker who has made a film locally about their case. First, we'll go to a trailer of the film, and we'll come back to talk to that family.
Maybe my friends, in my inscription in my tomb will say, "Here lies a dreamer." But maybe my enemies will say, "Here lies a crazy person." There will be no one who try to write, "Here lies a coward and a traitor to his ideals."
Me consideran una ilegal, una mojada, un alien. Pero ¿saben qué? Yo me llamo Tania. Soy indocumentada y vengo sin miedo y sin vergüenza y con muchas ganas para pelear por mi comunidad.
Being an illegal is beautiful because we have gone through a lot and survived.
Thank you for joining us. Once again, we're back here at Denver Open Media at the Opening Inclusiveness show. You just saw a clip of Tania Monarca, which is a film locally made here in Denver. Today we're here with the crew, the main cast members, and the family, which the film is about, the filmmaker. So just want to take a time to introduce the guests. Tania, the main character and also community activist, who is working on behalf of her mother for this case. Imelda Valenzuela, her mother, who is the subject, and we will focus on her life in this show. Lindsay Taubman, who is the filmmaker of the film, and we'll definitely talk to Lindsay about all the work that it took to put into this film. And also Ivy Pharr, who is also a community organizer and part of this community. So thank you for joining us. Thank you. So we first wanted to talk about, I first wanted to talk to Imelda about and tell the audience and also viewers out there about Imelda's case. And so first I want to talk about your history and talk about your life before you came to the United States, your life in Mexico, and then your pathway when you came to the United States. So can you talk a little bit about your life as a child and your youth?
Gracias. Thank you.
Mi nombre es Imelda Valenzuela. Soy nacida en Amiquipa, Chihuahua.
I was born in Chihuahua. My name is Imelda
Valenzuela.
Valenzuela.
Mi infancia fue crecer en el campo. Crecí en el campo, trabajé en el campo con mi padre. Ayudé muchísimo como mi padre no quería hombres, entonces yo era un hombrecito de apoyo.
I grew up in the countryside, and I helped my father in the fields. And my father didn't want girls, but I had to act as if I were kind of a boy.
Soy una de 8 hermanos. Mis padres trabajaron siempre para darnos el ejemplo del trabajo.
My parents worked very hard to support us. We were a family of 8 children.
Crecí, me casé y tuve mis hijos, tuve Tania, mi niño, entonces yo me dije que yo tenía que yo merecía vivir una vida, tener una vida en abundancia.
I decided to have plenitude in my life. I grew up, I got married, and I had my daughter, Tania.
Estudié cosmetología en México.
I studied at the pedagogy as a teacher in Mexico.
Y de esa manera emigré para acá con los permisos necesarios para venir aquí.
And I came here from Mexico with the necessary paperwork to be here.
Llegué aquí y aquí logré trabajar y poner mi propio negocio.
I set up my own business here when I got here.
Puse mi negocio y al mismo tiempo que mi hija Tania estudió su carrera de socióloga sin un estatus legal.
And Tania was living here and studying. I set up my own business, and she was studying sociology.
Sí. Y cuando yo puse mi negocio y me entré en el proceso de deportación,
I set up my business, and I was working in the exportation of goods.
por la razón de que cambian las leyes y ya no me dieron mi licencia.
But I couldn't get the license I needed to continue operating because the laws changed.
Pero yo quiero decirles que somos seres humanos que estamos viviendo en unión con las personas que están en inmigración, con las personas, los jueces.
We are human beings, and we are attempting to live and to deal with the people in the immigration system, like the judges, for example.
Porque yo para sobrevivir aquí, he limpiado las casas de los... bueno, no es seguro que limpió una casa de un juez, pero le he cortado el cabello al hijo del juez.
Well, you know, I have worked cleaning houses here, and I've even cut hair. I've cut the hair of a judge's child and cleaned their house.
Tuve mi negocio por 9 años y ahora soy parte de la seguridad de ellos mismos, porque ahora manejo un taxi y puedo estar segura que de algún momento yo estoy contribuyendo a su seguridad de ellos también.
And I'm helping my children, I'm surviving, you know, I'm able to contribute to their financial security, being able to drive a taxi.
Entonces, de alguna manera, yo siento que yo soy parte también de parte de sus vidas.
I feel like I'm a part of their life completely.
Que he luchado y que lucho y que demostramos que estamos aquí, como muchas de nuestras familias, luchando para vivir aquí.
And I'm like other members of my family, people who are here struggling to contribute to this society.
Ahorita tengo 3 de mis hijos. La niña nació aquí, tiene 13 años.
I have a daughter who was born here, And I have 2 other kids, and my daughter is now 13.
Entonces somos seres humanos fuertes, somos seres humanos que respiramos el mismo aire.
We are strong people. We are human beings, and we breathe the same air that everybody else breathes.
Y yo espero que ellos tomen parte de buen corazón y actúen, que no quieran esta parte de este aire, de lo que tenemos en este país para ellos solos.
And I hope that my kids will participate and be part of this greater society and be part of making it better for everyone, not just for them.
Porque yo vine aquí para encontrar una mejor vida.
I came here to find a better life.
Solo que no me di consecuencias al haberme quedado aquí.
And I didn't realize what the consequences could be in the long term when I decided to stay here.
La consecuencia que yo miré en mi familia fue el resultado que pudieran tener mis niños al quedarse a vivir y tomar sus estudios aquí.
But I did see that my family, my children were able to stay here, were able to have their own children and support themselves in their lives here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, I want to know more and also to educate others about how the deportation case started and how, was it, obviously, because not everyone gets deported, not everybody, but everybody's in the same boat. So can you tell me what happened? And Tania, you can describe this and, the steps you took to work it out, if there was anything.
Yeah, of course. So in 2006, a bunch of laws, anti-immigrant laws passed. And the anti-immigrant sentiment in Colorado grew. And one of those laws was making my mom's job difficult. My mom is a cosmetologist. She cuts hair for a living. And to be a cosmetologist, you need a license. And she was able to get that license prior to 2006. And in 2009, her license was about to be expired. And the law that made it impossible for her to renew her license, she freaked because she wasn't going to be able to continue working and she wasn't going to be able to continue supporting us. So she had her business in a strip mall. And right next to her business, this lady put up another business. And she was offering people a way to get a work permit. So my mom was basically a victim of fraud. She paid this woman a lot of money to get her work permit with which she could reapply for her license. There is no current way to be able to fill any type of paperwork to apply for a work permit. And that's how she ended up in the deportation proceedings. She received a letter in the mail from immigration saying that she needed to present at her first immigration court. And we weren't sure what was going on at the beginning until that first day at the court where the judge told her to go back home, get a lawyer, and come back because she was going to be removed from the country.
Do you think if she hadn't gone through the work permit fraud experience that things would be different at this point?
I'm not sure. There's many other things that go on in our lives, daily lives, that could put us in deportation proceedings. I've been stopped by police officers on traffic violations, and those stops could potentially put me in deportation proceedings. And the same goes for my mom.
I just want to bring you guys into the talk. Just based on that question, what are the other types of day-to-day things that happen that could put somebody at risk?
Well, first of all, I think Tania Monarca is a good film for the women of Colorado who are in the front lines of fighting for our immigrant community. And I think it puts Tania in our perspective and her story into really the women who are the ones fighting for our immigrant movement here in Colorado and everywhere. So thank you for sharing your story. One of the ways that the immigrant community is really being affected, things have been changing within the last years. No longer do we have the SB 90 Show Me Your Papers law. However, there's still a very long way to go. Many people are still fighting their deportation case. And let's not forget about that. We do have deferred action for people who are eligible, some parents, youth. However, let's not forget about the people who haven't been able to qualify, and I think a lot of people are really vulnerable, and that's where our fight continues. I mean,
well, we want to go to another clip of the film and just get a glimpse into the day-to-day life of Tania and Imelda.
Valenzuela tiene 8 años trabajando todos los días en su negocio y fue la ilusión de tener un estatus legal en el país lo que la hizo caer en las garras de defraudadores.
Me dijo que a mí también me podía arreglar un permiso de trabajo y me cobró $7,500. Yo no sabía, yo dije, esto está bien.
Así resume la señora Valenzuela cómo fue defraudada por una supuesta abogada de inmigración que lo único que hizo fue ponerla en un proceso de deportación que lleva ya más de 4 años y que finalmente mañana tendrá su última audiencia. Organizaciones proinmigrantes estarán acompañando a la señora Valenzuela en una vigilia mañana a las 7:45 de la mañana en el 621 de la calle 17 en Denver. Juan Carlos, es el reporte que tenemos hasta el momento. Por supuesto, seguiremos informando. Regresamos a los estudios contigo.
And you just saw a clip from Tania Monarca, and we're back with the cast and crew. I want to talk for a moment about the organizing that you've done and when you started, how you started, and how you've built up so much momentum.
Of course. I was a student at Regis. I graduated from Regis with my bachelor's, and I was going to a campus where immigration wasn't talked about. And I was going to classes and sitting in lectures, thinking about what I was going to do if my mom got deported, and thinking about my sister and brother and their future. And I couldn't concentrate on what the lecturer was saying because I had all this other baggage I had to carry with me. And it was a moment when I decided that I couldn't stay quiet. I had to talk to everybody else in campus and see who else was in my situation and what they could do to help us. And that's when I started connecting with outside organizations who do immigration work in locally and statewide. And I brought an immigration movement to Regis, and from that, after I graduated, I then started doing more community organizing around detention, immigration, and deportation.
Just to take a step back, when you were in your classroom and not finding anybody like you, yeah, can you just talk about the even if there were people like you but didn't speak out, why do you think that was, and what was the difference with your case?
I don't think there are enough spaces that welcome our story, and some campuses are that way, and Regis was definitely that way when I was there. And for me, they're needed. If they're talking about bringing students of color and diversity, then they should deal with what that student has to deal with at a daily basis. And immigration is a big part of what we have to deal with as students. But also, like you said at the beginning, immigration affects us all. So if those students knew how my story interconnected with theirs, then I felt that we could grow a movement, an immigration movement here in Colorado.
Mm-hmm. And Lindsay, I know you haven't spoken yet, so you are the filmmaker, and you did build a bridge with this film. Music has been a big part of this. How else have you been able to be a bridge and display that message?
Yeah, well, I think through our film is definitely one big way. We wanted to make a film about immigration, about the more personal side of it, and because it is about people and families and not all about politics and money and whatever you hear in the news and the media, that's just one perspective. So we wanted to put something else out there that's different, that maybe a different story that people haven't heard. And I know I've learned a lot about immigration and what it's really like through working with Tania and her mom, and I know that a lot of people I know also can learn more about this through the film and through listening to people who deal with it on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think, Ann Theis, do you have anything? I know that you are part of special communities too. Can you talk about the bridges that you've built and how you've done it?
Yeah, so I'm an undocumented and queer immigrant here in Colorado. I came to the United States at the age of 8. Much like Tania, I grew up being undocumented, a student being undocumented, being pulled over and being in detention for driving without a license. Here in Colorado and everywhere, the LGBT community has really been in the shadows within the immigrant rights movement. And we can see that we do have, like I said, we do have the deferred action for people who are eligible, some students and parents of U.S. citizens or U.S. permanent residents. However, the LGBT community needs to be bridged because many LGBTQ undocumented people did not qualify because they don't have children. The other thing is we have been left out from many immigration policies, not protecting people who are really vulnerable, trans women of color and LGBTQ people. I think bridging communities is important, but it also, when we see the LGBTQ and queer rights, for us in the immigrant community, it goes far beyond marriage in the way that marriage is not our priority. I'm not able to marry my partner because both of us are undocumented. My partner because we don't have kids who are U.S. citizens or residents. My partner did not qualify for deferred action. Deferred action is a temporary thing. We're not worried about marriage. We're worried about not being deported, right? And not being able to be afraid when we go out into the streets, or me losing my partner who's not under the deferred action protections.
What are some precautions and things that you can do besides trying to spread your message and speak out, actual prevention, if any?
Well, actual prevention, it's difficult to talk about actual prevention. There's just so many things that you can do. Knowing your rights is really important. However, knowing your rights, it's not enough. We could end up deported even if we know our rights. For people who do qualify for any of these temporary programs, I think it's essential that we try to apply as soon as we can. But I mean, really, when we have no permanent status, it's just very difficult.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do want to go for a moment to another clip of the 2012 presidential debate protest that you had, which was very successful, you would say?
I would say so. We had a big gathering.
It was in the film, and so we do want to take a look at that just to see how things are organized and way things are done.
When human rights are under attack, what do we do? When human rights are under attack, what do we do? When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
I got people coming in.
No cheer! No immigration is not a crime! Why are people doing time? Immigration's not a crime! Why are people doing time? Immigration's not a crime! Why are people doing time? Immigration's not a crime! Why are people doing time?
Immigration's not a crime.
Why are people doing time? Immigration's not a crime!
Okay, welcome back. Can you talk about that protest and how you got people involved, and what was the after effect?
Well, one of the ways to bridge people is to share stories and to get our message out there. And we try to go to events where there's already going to be a crowd. And the presidential election was one of the best events that you could go to, because there's people of all sides there and many opinions. And we decided that we wanted to have a presence because we wanted immigration to be at the forefront of the issues spoken at the debate. And the best way for us to be visible is with art, beautiful art. And as a movement in Colorado, we decided to use the monarch butterfly as a representation of migration, because monarch butterflies migrate from Mexico, Central America, and United States, and all the way up to Canada. And we made puppets, we made wings, we made stickers and flyers, and had our chants, and we just marched up and down the whole surrounding DU area, and handed out flyers, talked to people, and just were present. We're visible, and we're ready to be seen and acknowledged and loved and included.
Mm. I love the butterfly. I saw that as a theme in the movie, but now hearing you speak it is intense. What do you guys think about, I mean, this is very general, you know, borders were drawn of the United States, you know, in some people, you know, just 2 generations ago, you know, your mother and then her grandmother. So your grandmother may have been a part of, you know, what is now the United States. So what do you think, I mean, about these lines, you know, that are drawn, and, you know, is there any, is that part of your message too? Like, we are all the same, you know?
Definitely is. I don't think in this world there's space for borders, because we're, part of our message is to make the immigration issue more human. And by being human, we should have, you know, the same rights as everybody else, and we should be able to love each other and at least respect each other. And borders are literally killing people. Many people die trying to cross every day, and it's a shame that we are trying to enforce those borders that are killing.
Mm-hmm. And this segues into, and we are going to ask the audience too if they want to comment at any point. So if you do have a comment to any of the things we're saying or questions, just have your hand and we will come to you. Or you can come up to this microphone and speak your question. So at this point, we are also taking questions online too. If you want to hashtag on Twitter, DOM immigration, we will take your comments that way. I think you said you want to make this more human, and I think the film really does that, because you are local, and I see Denver, I see people who are in Denver, and it makes it, you know, it makes it relevant to me. So talk about how the film, you got so many community activists to be part of the film.
Yeah, well, Tania's very well connected with the local immigration movement, so that definitely helped in getting lots of different voices in there. And then I know before you mentioned music, and so we have 2 different local bands that provide the soundtrack for the film, and that's Debajo del Agua and Mano Verde. So it was just very fitting, and there's also live performers as well in the film, because that's a big part of the movement as well, just the using art as a form of speaking out about immigration issues and how we are all the same. That's a good way people can connect. Another bridge is through art and music. So, so yeah, we just wanted to bring that all, the local community from all different walks of it, into the film.
We will hear from some musicians later, some poets, I believe. Can you describe them and who they are?
We're going to hear from Jose y Alejandro, and they are They did a scene in our film where they were at a vigil at ICE, at the ICE Detention Center here in Aurora. And that's one of my favorite scenes in the film. It's very powerful. I've watched it a million times, and it's still really powerful. Get emotional every time because it just, there's something about that performance that really speaks to me, and I hope to other people as well.
Yeah,
So.
it's a very powerful scene, probably the most.
Yeah.
It is, you know, unless you're in the art community, though, how do you get that art to be seen by decision makers? Do they? Do they see it? Are they listening?
I hope so. I'm not sure if they are or not, but you know, hopefully, you know, getting media out there with our film and being on Denver Open Media, hopefully that helps get out there more. But I'm not sure. Maybe I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that. I'm not sure.
The hope is.
Yeah, the hope is that it's out there and people that make decisions can see that and be influenced by it.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments? Sure, can you come up to the microphone, please?
Buenas tardes, esta pregunta es para la señora Imelda. Primeramente, muchísimas gracias, señora, por compartir un poco de su vida con nosotros. Se me hace, me imagino que hay momentos en que se cansa de tanto luchar. ¿Y qué es lo que hace, señora, para seguir para adelante?
Bueno, como les cuento, tengo una fortaleza de, no sé, de mis raíces.
I have strength that comes from my roots.
Esa fortaleza ahorita la estoy ocupando, estoy viviendo en esa fortaleza de la enseñanza.
I'm living with those lessons that have taught me so much and made me strong.
Y es lo que yo les enseño, ¿no? Es lo que han aprendido mis hijos de mí.
That's what my children feel about me, and that's what my opinion is.
Que dado a eso, en ocasiones mi niño me dice que soy vieja.
And because of that, my young son says that I'm an old lady.
Por mis ideas, mis costumbres.
My ideas and my customs.
Pero pienso que de ahí viene de mi raíz. De mi raíz, de donde yo, mis enseñanzas, donde crecí, lo que me enseñaron, de ahí donde traigo esa fortaleza y por ende se las he inculcado a mis hijos.
That comes from my background, from my roots, from the things that I have learned, that I've tried to instill in my children.
Y mi niña mayor, pues ella me puso el ejemplo, me sobrepasó.
My oldest daughter, she showed me an example, and she went way beyond anything I had hoped for.
Y estoy muy orgullosa porque, dado a eso, es ejemplo para mis otros dos pequeños hijos.
I'm very proud of her because she's shown that she's a great model for my other children.
Do we have any other questions, comments? Okay. We are going to, I think, go to our, we have one more question.
Gracias por estar aquí todos. Tania, ¿qué es lo que te ha dado el valor después de que tienes una carrera? Muchos deseamos conseguir de perdida ir al colegio aquí, no hemos podido. ¿Qué es lo que te ha impulsado a ti, aparte de tener esa carrera, seguir con esta lucha a favor de la gente inmigrante indocumentada en este estado, en este país?
I'm a deep believer in human rights. And it has been, you know, my luck or my curse. I can't turn away from injustice. And when I see my communities always fighting and always being a target. It's just, I can't stand still. I believe that there will be the day where we will all be able to live in harmony and be able to thrive as human beings, including immigrants, not just survive, thrive. That's what we want. And if I don't do the work, you know, who else? If I can't ask you to come and help. I can't ask you to come and join the movement if I'm not in it myself. So that's why I've decided to be able to share my story and be able to have many people see me on a big screen, because I want to tell you all that I want to keep my mom with me. And I want everybody else who is an immigrant in this country to be able to live a life. And we can do it with all of you as the audience, all of you as the viewers, and all the people who we're trying to reach with this film.
I want to ask one more question to everybody, as you know, and Imelda first is, you know, not just for your family, but your community, but our whole society. What is at risk if this type of, you know, deportations and separation continues?
El amor de las familias.
The love of families.
Es una aportación para destruir familias. Es que somos parte de un grupo de las personas que están en la posición de elegir, que no pueden tener corazón para mirar a sus hermanos.
We want to feel like we can be here, we can be taken into account. Our children should be able to stay and see their brothers and sisters, and they are not allowed to.
Está en juego los futuros inciertos de niños que tienen que crecer, crecen porque crecen.
Children grow up.
Pero ¿qué futuro incierto está en ellos?
And what will their future be? Because as they grow up, they remain at risk.
Si los padres somos la base para somos como sus cimientos para su bienestar.
And we are the basis for their well-being as parents.
I think we have one more comment.
Hi there. My question is mostly for Tania and Ann Theis about sharing your stories as undocumented people in our country. And one of the things that stuck out from me in the film was this idea that the stories and the humanity of undocumented people live in the shadows, and that part of the work as organizers and part of the work that you're living in is to step out of the shadows. And so I'm wondering if both of you might share some of your experience with going from being someone living in the shadows without a voice for your story and to where you found the courage, and maybe some of the first experiences you had with sharing your story of being undocumented.
We definitely share stories in movements to connect with ourselves, to connect with other people, and also to take our story in our hands. For me, it was difficult. I mean, it's always difficult. I remember that I used to shut the door when I would share my story with someone. So I went from shutting the door to believing in all these experiences that I had gone through, and saying at one point that I had nothing else to lose, and that I exist. Stories put a face to the people that are being profited with, and that we are real, we exist. It wasn't easy, but once we connect, like me sharing my story, that's how I knew that Tania was undocumented. Tania shared her story, like Tania, she's undocumented. Well, that's how we grow. That's how we grow a movement, and that's how we're able to put a face to an issue.
Was there anything that sparked it? If you could be more specific? Was it hearing somebody else's story?
For me, yes, it was hearing other people's stories. At the time, there were being high school students who were my peers were also being deported. And at the time, I was also about to graduate high school. And much like Tania, I felt like, what's next? Being undocumented. And so I said, what about me? And we exist, right? We're being put to the side, we're being put in the shadows, but we're there. It's 11 million people you cannot ignore. And there's also like all these politicians and all these policies playing with our lives. So we're putting a face to what you're actually playing with and what you're profiting with.
Thanks. Are there any other last things you guys want to talk about or bring up with the audience? What are your next steps?
We definitely want to continue sharing the film and bringing acknowledgement, awareness about my mom's case, because her court is coming up in October. So we have a few months, but those months, pass by rather quickly. So we really want to be able to gather community support for her last court date. And from then on, be able to see what, if this executive order that Obama announced is going to be something that's attainable for our family and other Colorado families. And if it's not, then what can we do locally to make the lives of immigrants a little better here?
Mm-hmm. If you guys saw the film, you would know that they had a lot of people outside of the court. So do you think that had a big effect?
I believe so. We held vigils for people who are going into deportation courts because we don't want them to feel alone, because they're not. But we also want to gather the attention of media. The more media we have, the less likely the person is to get deported. And we do campaigns to stop deportations of people locally. And those vigils help us do that.
And the way you're organizing is just word of mouth? What else? How can other people get involved?
Definitely word of mouth. There's the local organizations that you can go to, and then they'll direct you to how to start your work in stopping deportations. But we also have a link, a website for the film, where we have a few more information on how to help with my mom's case and other cases.
And that's TaniaMonarca.com.
Yes.
Okay. Any other resources you'd like to share, maybe from the LGBTQ community?
When it comes to resources, Colorado, we don't have an LGBTQ or queer rights, immigrant rights organization or Latino organization. So there's more questions than answers when it comes to resources. Definitely, we need to build a movement to come together to make our spaces a lot more inclusive and have queer immigrants be part of our organizing spaces and just go from there.
Challenges that we should know about, that something that we could do, that we need to overcome, I guess, individually and then us as a group.
It's always difficult to push the boundaries of our own culture, our own movement. And many times what we have done to win some of the things that we have done for the immigrant community is by pushing the status quo. And we need to continue that. Being comfortable and getting comfortable with the things that we have is not an option. Many people get really uncomfortable by our comments or stories because we keep pushing it. And I think that we need to continue to push, and we will.
What's an example? Just maybe, I mean, in school and obviously the university, what about a young person, maybe in their teens, how can they break through that?
We can always, story of self, your personal story, once you take your personal story in your hands, I mean, and you're proud of it, no one else can really make you feel bad for being undocumented, for calling you an illegal, because we're proud of it. Tania, you know, we saw Tania Monarca. She's proud of it. You know, it has brought many challenges, but it has made who she is. She's strong, and she continues to fight. She's a fighter. And when we take our own story into our hands and we're proud of it, the rest of the world really doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, thank you for all joining me. We have some poetry now to speak to everybody, and we will have them come forward and introduce themselves. So we'll just back up a little.
Is it cool? Will the camera still capture the sound if we don't use a microphone? No. Well, there you go. Hello, y'all. My name is Hoser.
I'm Alejandro.
And we're poets. We're gonna read a poem. We're really blessed and really honored to be asked to participate in this event. It's such a beautiful screening. For those of you at home, you can't see this, but there's a packed house in the room right now, and so yeah. So, really successful turnout, huh? So, you ready? Let's go. Como nuestros antepasados,
corremos para sobrevivir.
Like our ancestors, we run for survival. My running career began when I crossed the desert for the first time. There were no scholarships, Olympic dreams, or shoe contracts.
Just cactuses
guiding me towards the finish line. Vultures waiting for me to trip, begging the sun to bake me nice and tender for their beaks.
My running career began when my mother told me,
si la migra viene,
if the border patrol comes,
tú corres para el bosque.
You run to the forest.
Lo conoces mejor que la pinche migra.
You know it better than the freaking border patrol.
She stretched my legs with her verses.
Caressed my spine with a lioness instinct.
Wove my lung capacity with the strongest corn husk in case we ever needed to run for our lives.
Just like our great-grandmothers did, but their legs never
They've stretched long enough to outrun the conquistadores. Se les acabaron los escondites.
They just ran out of places to hide.
So we were built runners with the endurance from the sun, carved from the calf muscles of Tauramara runners
who at the sight of genocide
used their legs to seek refuge in the canyons of Chihuahua.
No breaks allowed
because future generations rest on our shoulders.
This is something you will never learn from anthropology professors.
This is in the library books stacked in the back of our hamstrings. Written in our bodies as scar tissue.
We don't run for competition.
We run for survival. We have warriors for footsteps.
Guerrilla tactics hidden underneath our toenails.
This is how we've always gone to war. There are drum circles pounding in our souls. We have rattles for ankles.
This is how we have always kept pace.
The desert's flames are still alive within us. They are the same flames
used to burn
Cuauhtémoc's feet and our great-great-grandmother's religion.
We run to show Christians the prayer isn't always so simple, and the sometimes sweat
is the holiest sacrifice you can give. We run from the cops.
Way too similar to our ancestors' conquest.
So when the police released their dogs on me,
I had flashbacks
of our ancestors dashing through cornfields, like the reaction had been kept into my muscle memory for a reason.
We run to our feet, remember that
we've always belonged to this land. This is something that they've always been afraid of.
So they gave us wounded knees.
Made us run sand creeks
and trails of tears trying to slow us down,
to massacre us like Tlatelolco.
Colonization has attempted to damage our lungs,
give us side cramps and shin splints for reservations,
and still
we run faster than their soldiers. We are the reason they invented the bullet,
and they forget
that we have legs built from centuries of repeating invasions.
Templos for body armor,
and nothing they can do will keep us from running. We will run until our feet split the concrete
and expose
civilizations that lied here before yours. We will run
until angels realize that wings are overrated.
We have feet. We will run until our children never confuse applause for gunshots.
So that they can walk with their heads held high, knowing that if I'm not around,
they can ask cactuses for guidance and understand that the only reason they need to raise their legs is to take a stand. We have already run for them,
equipped them with weapons in their claws,
and manufactured shields out of their grandmother's consejos.
This is something you will never be able to take away from us.
You have a better chance of catching the wind than you do catching us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming, and we hope to keep on doing these types of events here at Denver Open Media. So this is the Opening Inclusiveness show, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.